Well, here we are. Mr. Henty again. Bangs on the door for a long time to get me to answer. I try to ignore him, but there is no ignoring him. He bursts in onto the scene, and here he is.
Oh, good gracious. Yes, here I am again, sound, sane, and simple. I think we can safely say. I'm delighted to see you and to hear you, if I may say so, Keith. A few problems this morning, but nevertheless, we've overcome those problems.
Yeah, they were very early on.
They were early on, at a very early hour, when very few people would choose to be up. Although, as we remember, when I was on the radio, I was off air at 6:30. So I'd done it all in that first hour between 5:30 and 6:30. A very important time, as we know, particularly if you're older, if you're in pain, if you're fed up with life. You wake up and you think, I don't know, shall I get up? Shall I? And then you think, I'll tell you what, I'll listen to I won't listen to the world news. Don't bother with that. I'll tell you what, I'll listen to that John Henty, because he rabbits on and on and on and on. And you said another thing today, which actually amused me a bit earlier on. You said that you get a bit tired of talking to yourself, you said.
Yes.
And I thought that was quite funny, actually. And a lot of people who live on their own, and I don't, but I still empathise with what you're saying. A lot of people who live on their own probably have exactly the same problem. They like to bounce off someone. And if you're on your own, of course, the only person is you. In my case, I've said this before, and no doubt it'll not surprise my son. In my case, of course, I've always talked to myself anyway, as a matter of course. Largely, my argument is that I'm probably the only person in the universe who can understand me. In other words, I know me very well, better than anybody else. I like to think so anyway. So talking to myself is something that I frequently do. I have debates with myself. I work out little plans with myself. And overall, I would never, ever apologize. You weren't apologizing.
No.
But you were saying that you get a bit fed up with talking to yourself. And we would all understand that.
Yes.
But
I don't argue with myself, you see.
you don't?
No.
No. I don't know, really. I think normally I agree with myself. And if there is a disagreement, I normally go and stop the conversation altogether. And it is, you're right also. You were going on about this sprightly John Henty belting around the town, which sadly you're not able to do. And you made the point, of course, of my age, you see. Here we go, the old ageism thing again. Tell you what, though, two things about age. Last week I mentioned the article in the Radio Times about 2 weeks ago when the young reporter asked me on my birthday, unfortunately, how old I was. I then told him to work it out for himself. Sadly, he was able to do that. And therefore, in the Radio Times, it quoted me as being a radio DJ. And you didn't know that, but I was a DJ. And it said on his 88th birthday. So in other words, he blew my cover completely.
Oh,
I'm suing the Radio Times, of course, in the process of doing that. But I mean, that was a little bit irrelevant anyway.
Yes. But you know, John, I remember back to when I was 83, and I think how naive I was.
Yes, 83. Well, I have obviously great respect for older people and younger people too. But I mean, for example, a very nice example of this super town, Lewes. Only yesterday I was downtown and one or two people did recognize me because I appeared in this rather bizarre program about ABBA. And this charming man who I meet regularly, often goes past this window here at the Black Horse. And we just got talking because I think it was very cold. And it was also very quiet yesterday. There were very few people about. So I said, oh, hello. And he said, hello. We got talking as one does. This is Lewis, you see. He didn't have a dog, by the way. I think that is important. A lot of people have dogs and they only talk about their dogs. He didn't have a dog. So we talked about the weather, which is a very good topic. And then I being me, I said, I'm John, by the way, you are. And he gave me his name. He said he was Michael. And he said he seemed to know more about. He'd read the Radio Times, I think.
Oh.
He said, when are you going to be 90? And I said, well, what about you then? He said, oh, I'm 90. This wonderful man who belts about the town, known to everybody, and his name is Michael. We now know that. But he said, oh, I'll be next year. I said, good gracious. I said, I'd never have guessed that. I said, what date? So he gave me his date. I've noted in my diary. And when I see him around that time next year, I shall give him a card. I think it was January next year, which is 2025. I think it is, yes. So, I mean, that's lovely. And it shows, if I may say so, the clear irrelevance of age in many, many ways.
Oh, indeed it does. I mean, actually, I always think of, is it Mrs. Malaprop?
Mm.
It's being so cheerful that keeps me going.
Yes,
It's
yes.
only because
Yeah.
I don't say anything nasty or dull
No.
that I can actually scoot around on my scooter.
Yes, Malaprop is good, but it was moan a lot.
Moan a lot.
Moan a
Moan a
lot.
lot.
We're talking again Itmar, and you were talking obviously earlier about Max Miller, I know, and my links with Max Miller. Not much to report on that front, I have to say, although our little show in Brighton on May the 23rd is looking good. Piano Playtime, it's called, and it's going to be in the Unitarian Church right in the heart of Brighton. And everybody will be welcome, and I'm hoping we'll have an absolute sellout, because another gentleman into his 80s still plays the organ. He's the man who appears on Talking Pictures and goes up and down on his organ.
Really, yes.
He's a remarkable man, and his name is John Mann, and he is the most brilliant organist ever. Give him any organ, it doesn't matter where it is. And funnily enough, here in Lewes, at what they call, I think, the All Saints Centre down below the lower part of the town, there was a notice saying that they're looking for someone to play their organ because it was a former church. So I've tried to put him in touch with them. And if that works out, then we'll probably have John Mann appearing in Lewes, which would be
excellent.
brilliant. Excellent. Genius. He can play any organ anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where it is, whether it's an enormous one, small one. And it's just that great ability.
Where's he from?
He is basically a Brighton-based person.
Yeah.
In fact, I think his family, the Mann family, were an electrical firm dealing in televisions in those days, and in St James's Street in Brighton. That was part of the Mann family. He still lives in this area delightfully with his partner, Heen, a young man from Vietnam. They're terribly happy together. And it's a lovely, lovely story. But above all else, it's that great skill, which I know we both envy. I mean, you with this awful computer business, having to do all this.
Yes.
I mean, John Mann, despite being, the age, he can still, I heard him very recently doing a wonderful Trish Trash polka or anything from Sound of Music. Oh, the talent is, I admired him. I just wish that my mum and dad had persuaded me or forced me to actually play the piano.
No. Yes.
Because that would have been a great skill where you can take anywhere. And despite if you're a bass player, you've always got to hump your bass around wherever it is. With a piano, you just turn up, come to a place like this, there's a piano, and immediately you're welcomed and popular too.
Yes, but plenty of blues on the top of the piano for you.
Well, of course, that's the other story that we have related before. That the son of Mabel Lucy Atwell, who actually lived in this town, he chose to live in this town towards the end of his life. He was absolutely hopeless at recreating or drawing or any form of art, but put him at a piano and he could play out mostly wartime. Don't worry, pack up your troubles in your old kit bag, and he'd be banging it away on the piano. Very popular, certainly in those days, not quite so popular in the days of Russ Conway, perhaps. And in the bit, the police liked him so much in this town that they would invite our good friend to actually appear for them at Christmas when they had a Christmas party, the Lewes Police or Sussex Police. And he would then have on the top of the piano, as you said, a whole line of Guinness. He loved Guinness. So as long as there was about 4 pints of Guinness there, and there was someone to join in with his chorus. This man whose name was Peter Earnshaw, he was at home and welcomed wherever he went, which is very nice.
Yes.
Can't always say that is true of Keith or me. I mean, we are welcomed occasionally, but sometimes
yes.
people say,
Yes.
really? Oh, who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
Just as a red herring, which
Well,
I know you'll enjoy.
Yes,
Have you ever seen the video
yes.
of Sancerre being played on the organ?
No.
You would know it as Babe. Da, 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 da. It is brilliant.
Oh.
It is written especially for organ. And it's played with something like the Stockholm Philharmonic Orchestra. But absolutely brilliant. I recommend it to you.
Good gracious me. The things you hear on Mirador. Good morning, everybody. Yes, it's not a bad morning. It's damned cold, as a colleague of mine said, one of our regular viewers, actually. He rang me up very early in the morning and he said, "God, blimey, is it me or is it?" And I said, it's cold. It's very cold indeed.
It is indeed.
Oh dear. So hence the scarf, always wearing the scarf, of course, which is nice. And yes, I've been fairly busy. Yes, the whole question of age again cropped up during the week and we've overcome that one. And I was watching, there was a television program. I've often thought I would welcome if one of these film units like Wise Owl, the people who did the ABBA film, I mean, if they got in touch with me and said, "John, would you like to go back to some of the places that you've visited and then we could take you with an entire research team, about 12 cameramen. You would be the only one who appeared there, of course." Well, now, this is what Michael Palin did and Michael Portillo does. The trouble with Portillo is that whenever I got a train, and I've said this before, I always go up and down the train just to make quite certain that Michael Portillo isn't aboard. Because he seems to be on every train, wherever it is in the world. I mean, Patagonia, the lady in Patagonia who watches this regularly likes a little mention. Patagonia. Yes, very good, impressive. No, there was a program last night which worried me very slightly because it was the splendid Michael Palin of Monty Python fame, and he's now Sir Michael Palin, I think. No. Is it Michael Palin? Yes, it is. Palin. And he was there in Nigeria. And you may know, ever been to Nigeria?
Oh, I have spent many a time in Nigeria. If I meet a Nigerian, I say, "Where are you from?" And I say, "I'm from Damaturu." And their eyes shoot up.
Wow, that would be impressive. What is that, a town or a village?
It's a town, yes, in northeastern Nigeria.
I love that. I mean, there is a place, unless I'm Timbuktu. There is a place called Timbuktu.
There is indeed. Yes.
And there's another place, and I've even got the badge to prove it, that is called Kalamazoo. You know the song? It was one of those, dun, 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 to Kalamazoo.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
I would like to live in a town that had a name like that. Kalamazoo. Tipperary is quite nice. It's a long way there, of course. Here he is. The thing about Michael Palin, though, was, I mean, he's been doing this for about 30 to 40 years now, again, all over the world, again, with a film unit and, all the usual resources. You never worry about hotels or baggage, do you? But the thing is, of course, he's getting on a little bit, I suppose. So I thought he looked a bit fragile because Nigeria, I think they say Lagos is the capital, is it?
No. Abuja is the capital. Lagos is the biggest city.
Big is not the word for it. Apparently, it's going to be in about 30 years' time. That's if we get there. In about 30 years' time, it's going to be the largest, most populated city in the world.
Oh, I can well imagine.
And the actual quote-unquote slum area, which actually is illegal, it is massive and terrifying. And he was there, I suppose, taken very carefully around by security people, etc., etc. So the occasional shot. And I thought, in a way, that's all very well, turning up with a Western film unit and taking pictures of a few people doing their washing in the river and stuff. But there's more to it than that. And I must say, Nigeria, there was a balance. Clearly, there are those who believe that it has a great future, but it also has massive problems, population being one of them. They spoke to one man, an intelligent, educated man who was trying to run a school for these children in this particular area. And he spoke about his mother, and I think his mother had 18 children, you see. And the average is about 5 children per person. And you wonder why the world is going to expand and how we're going to cope with it, because that is a very good question.
Yes.
There are too many people, you could say. So there is another argument, which gives me to another point, which I'm a bit worried about using today. And that is this whole question of, what do we do with old people? The trouble is they're living too long. And here's your evidence, him and me, far too long. Yeah. The trouble is, as he knows, and I know as well, what's the alternative, eh? What's the alternative?
John, you and I are the chosen two. It's others who are living too long.
Yes.
60s and 70-year-olds.
That's a lovely way of looking at it, yes. But it leads me to a question which I'm not going to really, you would choose me not to go into great detail. But I am a member of an organization, and they sent me some material, which I have over here. I haven't got the lovely bag today. I was in a bit of a rush leaving the house. And this, it represents a woman that you will recognize and everybody will respect and should respect. And her name is Esther Ranson. And Esther Ranson is part of a campaign for dignity in dying, the assisted death. Now, this is a dodgy subject, I accept. Everybody has their views. I don't know his views. I do know my views. All I'm saying is that it is an issue. And I'm saying that with television worldwide, people should be aware of this. And in this country, we should be aware that I think it is later this month, April the 29th, I could be wrong, the matter is going to be discussed in Parliament on the 29th of April. Here we are. They're launching a petition with Dame Esther Ranson and the Express newspaper, debating in Westminster the 29th of April, this whole issue of dignity in dying and assisted death. Now then, we better not discuss that, don't you think?
No, the only thing is, John, I would say is I don't think that I would want to commit suicide because I would worry that something would happen a second after I'd done it. But by the same token, I also have never experienced the pain that people undergo who do commit suicide. No.
Well, that is exactly it, and why we won't discuss this at great length, not on a bright sunny morning. You're quite right, madam, but you should think about it. And my basic premise and argument is I totally share with what you're saying. And it's well and good saying, that, life is not for us to decide how long it is, etc. But the whole point is, if you're in deep agony, and palliative care works to a certain extent, but if you are experiencing deep agony, and if that's a relation of yours who's suffering in that way, you would want to help them to have a very peaceful, quiet ending. And they should be entitled to that, and they shouldn't have to go to Switzerland.
I agree with that. I think it should be a matter of choice.
It should be a matter of choice, exactly. Why? Largely because you don't have any choice coming into life. You're brought into life. That's it. No arguments. You can't say yes or no. You're there. You should have a choice when you leave. End of conversation. Think about Esther Ranson. Bless her. Thank you. Rant over. Next.
What would you like to do next?
Well, I think...
before you go any further, will you remind people about your Max Miller do in Brighton? Because people don't remember, and I've forgotten the exact date. So can you repeat it?
Yes, I think you said the autumn. When it's getting towards the autumn, it's going to be in the middle of August, actually, which is probably the way the weather's going at the moment. It'll be winter by then.
Yes.
The weather's balmy. I mean, did you see in Saudi Arabia, they've had about a year's rain.
Dubai.
Yeah, Dubai, pardon?
It was Dubai.
I thought you said goodbye. I thought that was on. Goodbye, Dubai. I mean, that's ridiculous. Now, if that doesn't make those people down there in all that heat think about climate change, I don't know what would. I mean, come on, all that rain, and then there the aeroplanes were all landing in the floods. Oi, oi, oi. And that's in the, anyway. So what were we saying? Oh dear, what were we saying? I've forgotten what we were talking about now.
You were going to remind us of the date of your soiree.
Dear.
I would quite like to come to that.
Yes, I know. I heard you say that, and there's no reason why you shouldn't. There's jolly good access to the pavilion grounds for the disabled people with their mobility scooters and the rest of it. So, of course, you'll be able to get there. Positive thinking. August the 11th is a Sunday. It'll be absolutely lovely afternoon. Don't worry about the weather. We always get good weather, funnily enough. And if we don't, I may even put up my gazebo. And believe me, madam, I heard that woman in Poynings again. She said, "You get your gazebo out, John." She said, "I'm switching off immediately." No. A gazebo, madam, is a tent. Ah, you knew that. No, it's a lovely tent, and we all get under this tent if it rains, but it doesn't rain. So it's going to be an absolutely splendid. And the reason why it's important is because the Hippodrome is about to be refurbished. It was in the Argus only last night. They've got the marvellous plans, but more importantly, they've got permission to do it. So it's going to happen. And we, as Max Miller, are going to be part of it. And we're going to tell everybody this on August the 11th. We're going to invite the entire town, the mayor, the Argus, Matson Properties, the people who are developing brilliantly the site now. We're going to invite them all to be there. There'll be probably a bit of music as well. There'll be delicious tea. David Sewell and Vanessa, his wife, provide a wonderful tea. It's exceptionally good, and it'll be open air, and it's going to be for everybody. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are. If you live in the Isle of Wight or Patagonia, madam, hop on a plane if there are any, and belt over and have a look at that. So that's August the 11th. It's a Sunday, which is really good. I hope you can make that.
Oh, I shall make a point of making it.
Yes, absolutely.
What time?
It'll be soon after 2:00. People normally get there early because they think we'll get a nice seat in the shade because it can be quite hot. And you'll be more than welcome. There will be payment. I think we may well have to ask people a little bit of money for this, partly because of the tea, but also because we're raising funds so that we can establish Max in the Hippodrome without people saying, "Well, it's a very good idea, Mr. Henty, but how are you going to finance it?" Well, we need some money to do that. Once we've got that money and once we've got that impetus, then there will be nothing to stop Max Miller reappearing at the Hippodrome in Brighton in 2026. That is my whole. You all need a raison d'etre. Sorry to use French, madam. There are subtitles underneath somewhere. Raison d'etre. Ça va? Ça va bien. Now then, if you think about that, I promise you it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen, and it'll be a reason for getting up, even if it is only one day, August the 11th, worth getting up for. And then there's, of course, medical matters. I brought with me, because we have this deep respect for this wonderful man, Tommy Cooper. And I know how we like to have a bit of a smile. And he's always going on about medical matters. So I thought I brought one or two more little jokes like this one, you see. It's because this bloke went to the doctor and he said, "Seriously, doctor, I've broken my arm in several places." And the doctor said, "Well, you shouldn't go to those places, should you?" I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? Or the doctor said to the patient, "You will live to be 70. The patient said, "I am 70. And the doctor said, "What did I tell you?" Come on. I went round to the doctor.
It's the way he told them, isn't it?
How about this one? You'll like this one, Sir Keith. I went round to the doctor. There was nothing wrong with me. I just felt like sticking my tongue out at somebody. What original thinking is that? That is lovely. Absolutely. I gave up smoking 3 years ago, he said, as he coughed. I went to my doctor and he said, "Whenever you get the urge to smoke, try a bar of chocolate." I did, but I didn't like it. I had trouble keeping them in. I don't understand them. He said that when you get try a bar of chocolate. I said, I don't. That's, you see, the trouble is you read out jokes and they're not the same.
No, not the same, are they?
That is the whole trouble.
It's the way I tell them.
It is exactly because we always say about people say, well, what is Max Miller? What was his secret? It was the way he told the joke, one, and two, something that we both should bear witness to is timing.
Yes.
You see, you get your timing wrong. I mean, there are so many classic examples which I won't bore you with, but Miller knew his audience so well. And even when he came on the stage with all the lovely gear and the sort of hat that Keith's wearing this morning, I mean, he wouldn't immediately launch. First of all, they'd start the signature tune up, and then Max, and then he'd come on, and he'd wait to come on, so anticipation. And then he'd sort of size up the audience, even before he'd even spoken one word. And if there was one woman laughing at him, just even looking at her, he would concentrate his entire act. I know what you're thinking, lady. I know what you're thinking. Lovely man. Absolutely. Did I ever meet him? No. Did I ever see him on stage? Yes. But he died in 1963, in case you're wondering. And as we often do on this wonderful television, Mirador, we give you the details. It's www.maxmiller.org. Everything is there. All about the next meeting, pictures of all the various wonderful functions we've had. So it's worth doing. It's worth perpetuating today's word.
Yes.
We need to perpetuate. 2, 4, 6, 8. Let's all perpetuate.
Actually,
that's genius.
I mentioned sort of, I don't know whether it was Colonel Chinstrap, I think.
Yes.
And the person I was talking to didn't know Tommy Handley. What a pity. Because he was the man that kept the nation going during the war.
He's that man again. Yes, absolutely right. We love that program. As we love, in the similar vein, we love Dad's Army. You see, the trouble is, younger people. I met one only this week, actually, a lovely person. It was in a shop in the sort of Brighton Lanes area, and I wandered through there on my way to the Pavilion Grounds. And it was a lovely shop. I'm going to give it a plug because they do wonderful jewellery, but very, very inexpensive, big, chunky necklaces and things like that. And I thought I'm going to buy a lovely, chunky necklace for someone very special to me, which I did. And the young girl was opening up the shop at the time. So I joined her in there and I said, not a bad morning. She said, no, it's very nice. I said, you must like working in here because it's a very nice shop and there's lots of buzz, things happening everywhere. And she said, oh, yes, I started last week and it's really good. I said, I'm John. I said, what's your name? I love this. You'll like this name. She said, it's Jazz, Jazz. I thought, what a great name. I said, you know what, Jazz? I said, that's the reason you got the job. You went in there. You said, I gather you were looking for someone to, and they said, yes. And they said, could we have your name? And she said, well, Jazz, you're fired. You're hired. You're hired. Exactly. They liked the name, and she fitted in with the whole lovely sort of aura in the shop. It's wonderful stuff and so reasonably priced. And I said, could you put it in a little box? So she very carefully arranged it in a box, and it was very well received, I'm pleased to say. So that was a nice moment. And again, the point about that is that I'm almost certain and reluctant to say, having moved to Brighton very recently, quite obviously, Jazz probably wouldn't even know about Max Miller. I could be wrong, but I could be right. And if that's the case, there's really not a lot of hope, to be perfectly honest with you. No, there's not a lot of hope. It's all very well us going on about Tommy Handley, rightly so, and Dad's Army, and all the humour of the past, Milligan and Harry Seacombe and the rest of them, the Goons. But a lot of young people, too, with the sort of humour around today, they wouldn't even recognise the Goon Show. No. Just a lot of silly men.
But I would hope that just in passing, because not a lot of young people watch this programme, it's more for older people, but I would hope that when they hear the name Max Miller, often enough as they do, is that they say, who's Max Miller?
Exactly.
And go and ask.
And check it out. That's entirely right. And okay, when they get the answer there, I think they will recognise the reason why we tend to go on about it. We can explain obviously Itmar because of the war connection and the man who led it, Tommy Hanley. Dad's Army was absolutely brilliant television at the best of times, of course. And Miller was exceptional. If you ever saw him in the theatre, you would never forget him. His blue eyes, his cheeky approach, his slightly rude jokes when people didn't tell rude jokes. It would all added up to something rather special. And that is what is often lacking today, I think, in much of the humour, the comedy. And there's another friend of ours going past whose name, she occasionally watches us. Her name is Wendy. So I'll give her a little mention. Formerly worked with me when I was in Brighton. So that's the nice thing about Lewis that we both love. And you were saying, you know, people often say, hello, Keith, etc., etc. And that's it. It's quintessentially Lewis, people who know each other. You know, I'll tell you one other thing before I go. We had to take some deliveries here a few moments ago on behalf of Declan. And so we signed it all in, which was very good. Another friend of mine went to a wine bar, a newly opened wine bar. I thought this might interest you. In Lewis, you see, fairly close by here. It's only about 10 minutes away. Not too far away, I suppose you could say, from the beloved White Hart Hotel, which was frequently where this all started at one time. And so this person went on a Saturday evening, to be fair, to this wine bar. And I thought, well, wine bars, coffee bars, Cornish bakery, all very well. And so he said it was very nice, he said. He said there were a lot of people in there, which I was pleased to hear. I was slightly surprised to hear that. And then he said we had a couple of bottles of wine. And he said, do you know how much the bottle of wine, the bottle they had? It won't surprise you, but it surprises me, bearing in mind my cut price deals I get from the supermarket regularly. £38 for a bottle of wine.
Good God.
Is that a lot of money?
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. You can get one in the pub for 16.
Well, is there a degree, now you're a person to ask, I'm sure I know this, is there a degree of sort of snobbery about it?
I think actually it's greed. I think that perhaps necessary greed, because with lockdown, the publicans did lose a lot of money. Now, it's not the publicans who set the prices, of course, it's the owners, the breweries. Yeah. But they lost a lot of money, and I think they're trying to claw it back.
Yes.
I mean, I come in here for my Sunday lunch most Sundays, yes, and I have a small glass of red wine, £6. And this is not an expensive pub.
No. Yeah. Yes, it is alarming. And should you go to a football match here in Lewis, and I hope you do occasionally, this is the Scarf, by the way, this is the Rooks. They play at the Dripping Pan. More about that on another occasion. And there, very often, and I've not complained about this, but I've commented on this. I go to watch the football mainly. The majority of the people who go there because it's Lewis, to talk to their neighbours. One, two, to eat these pies. They do produce pie and mash and peas at a very reasonable price, but also to drink the Harvey's beer, which is very Lewis. But I mean, even that now I gather, and you would know the answer, but I think with £5 to £6 a pint, am I right? Probably about that price. You see, that strikes me as a lot of money, because I remember as a child, when my dad was providing me with lots of alcohol just to keep me quiet. Not true. In point of fact, I would remember paying about, I think, under £1. I think it was under £1. Under £1 for a pint.
Oh, absolutely. And unless you're a train driver, it's a lot of money for most people.
Yes. Oh, don't go on about train drivers. Dear, oh dear. What about helicopters? We've had helicopters over the town in the past evening. I don't quite know why they were hovering around. It's something to do with the railway, they said. Now, the helicopter in Lewis is very present. You hear it a lot, don't you? Because we have the prison just up the road, being entertained by the gentleman you always tell me about, with his pram.
Yes.
Oh.
He was there the other day.
No,
Yes,
that's enterprise. And then the other man that I admire in terms of enterprise is the old fella down the bottom there in the precinct, and I'll bet, but be going in a minute. He'll be sitting there even in the cold, wearing a scarf. He's got a lovely beard and a funny old hat, and he plays sort of bluesy American stuff, really good stuff. Does anyone drop any money in his hat? Very few people do, but he's just happy there. In fact, yesterday he was sitting.
Playing it.
Exactly. Yesterday he was just sitting in the sunshine. He wasn't actually playing his guitar. But the thing is, and I did mention this to you a few weeks back, I heard from someone else. They said, "Oh no, he's not around at the moment." I think they said he's in Florida. And I thought, blimey, that's not bad. Busking clearly has
yes.
I mean,
you know what I think we should do, John?
Yes.
We should rent a locomotive with some carriages from the Bluebell Railway.
Yes.
And we should run them between, let's say Seaford, because that's got a nice ending.
Mm-hmm.
Seaford and Victoria, and take people, say, twice a week, just for the pure pleasure of travelling by train.
Yes, I agree.
Because it's not a pleasure at the moment. And actually, sometimes they don't go at all because of this silly nonsense of strikes.
Yes. Well, I mean, with your amazing ability and control of so many things, he said. I mean, why? If we did that, I mean, could you organise possibly? Could it be a steam locomotive?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, it's got to
be steam. Got to be steam.
I mean, don't get me going on. I mean, once again, you see, older people are going to wax lyrical about steam. And when you think about it, that young girl Jazz, do you think she's ever seen a steam train?
Yeah.
No, she hasn't, which is a shame because that was evocative, and the smoke and the smell and the soot. Oh my goodness!
When he was quite young, about 3 or 4, I took my we took our grandchildren to the Bluebell, and the little one stood on the platform, and this great big monstrous thing came clanking in, and his little body shook like that with excitement. He'd never seen anything like it.
Absolutely
wonderful experience.
Wonderful, yes. That wonderful film.
My little body shakes when I watch a steam engine. They are magnificent creatures.
It's not only the sight, it's the sound. We're back to sight and sound, aren't we? It's Absolutely. The sound of that train. There's nothing quite like it in the build-up of steam as it either goes away or comes towards you. It's brilliant. And if it's on a wet night, as I can recall, in a little place called Dorman's Land, which is near East Grinstead, if that train comes through the mist with that sound, brilliant. And then the brakes always squeaked as well as it pulled up, and you get into these carriages. No blooming doors that sort of lift up and then close just as you're trying to get in. No, you open the door, you shut the door with a great clunk, and then if you want to look out of the window, basically with steam trains, you get the window shut because of all the smoke. Yeah. But if you wanted to open the window, you had an incredible unlatching system with a bit of leather belt, which you had to undo and then pull it down, and then you take about half an hour to try and put it up again. Oh, the joys of train journey.
But you and I were privileged because we actually lived when that was the mode of transport.
Oh, totally right. I mean, it's a small young man. I was a young man, madam. Yes. How many years ago? 70 years ago, if not a few more, actually. I would go to the city. The first job I ever had, as I've mentioned here before, was the City of London, and I worked in Houndsditch warehouse. It was dreadful. I wasn't a warehouse man, madam. I was working for the Shell Petroleum Company who had offices there. And every day I would travel from Croydon, where I lived, into London Bridge and on a steam train 9 Townsend, and a very crowded steam train. And then we were in those carriages where you all sat facing each other. And a lot of you used to stand in between. I used to annoy people because in those days we used to smoke cigarettes as well on our way to work. And I'd be smoking a fag and there's nowhere to put your ash. So we would lay a newspaper out in the rack and we would flick our ash into that. And then just as we're getting out, occasionally someone sort of removes it and the entire carriage is covered in cigarette ash. Oh, the joys of it all, lovely. And then we'd walk across Bridge in those days. Largely, the majority of the men were wearing not hats like that, but wearing bowler hats.
Yes,
They were all bankers, financiers, all going to work in the city. That doesn't happen. It's Canary Wharf now, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not the same.
Well, very rare. I've got a bowler hat. I've got 2 bowler hats.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Yes. I occasionally wear them. In fact, I'll wear one tomorrow just to
Would you like that, everybody? You can vote for it here on Mirador Television. Keith in a bowler, K-I-B, Keith. Just put K-I-B, Keith in bowler. That would be nice. No, I wouldn't wear a bowler hat. I'm not wearing a hat today. It rather depends on the weather and the circumstances and how I'm feeling. And how are you feeling at the moment, John? Exhausted, to be honest with you. No, it's all very exhausting.
Well, you expended a lot of energy, John, but I mean, that's what this hour of you and I share is all about. Lots of energy, because we like to show that we are quite young, really.
Well, absolutely. Yes, I mean, if we need to do that, I mean, but basically, we've said, as we said right at the beginning, this whole question of age is very much an irrelevance. It rather depends how you approach it. And what you've got to do, as I always say, is gratitude. Be thankful that you've reached the point that you have, in whatever condition it may be. An attitude to don't go around saying, oh, I don't know, these young people today. We don't do that. No, we try to actually embrace them in some way or other. Not too much, madam. I know you can get arrested for that as well. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Talk about woke. We're not woke here.
No.
And Nigel Farage, you won't hear him mentioned on this channel. Nigel Farage. And as for that, by the way, that's one final thing I must say. I'm going downtown now, and the one thing I won't be doing is buying this new book that produced by the woman who was Prime Minister for about 15 minutes. She's produced a book. Did you know that?
Oh.
She's produced a book. What was her name? We can't even remember.
Truss.
Dear, oh dear. And you know what? 2 things, and I'm not going to go down this road, madam, I promise you. We've had enough controversy today. 1, she thinks Nigel Farage would be very welcome in her Conservative Party. Very well. And she also thinks she would welcome with open arms Donald Trump as the next President of the United States of America. I rest my case.
But just before you go, you and I have been threatening to sing the Whiffenpoof song, which we will one day. But when you mentioned an organ, I always remember that theme from Babe being played on a wonderful organ. But you know, the really highlight of that movie is the farmer doing the dance. And you and I must study that. And one day we'll come on unannounced and we'll do the dance.
You wearing a bowler hat.
And me wearing a bowler hat.
You could be the sort of Fred Astaire of Lewis. Answers on a postcard to this address. Well, that's a thought. Babe, by the way, is that the baseball player? No.
Which one? Babe. There was a baseball player. Yes.
I thought it was either about a baseball player or a pig.
A pig.
Was it about a pig?
It's about a pig.
A pig.
A pig. Yes.
A film about a pig.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, dear.
Talking pig, talking hens, talking cows.
Wonderful.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
I used to provide voices for animals. Pigs always stretched me, I have to say. Not easy. Not bad.
Now, I have to tell you, you want daft, you get daft during this hour.
Well, there we are, Kevin. We better go, Keith. I think I've got to. Oh, goodness me, I've got to meet the lovely lady downtown.
Right.
Wish everybody well, and I hope that lovely man who'll be 90 next January. I hope he's been watching. His name is Michael, and if I see him, I'll tell him to watch Mirador Television.
Yes.
Toodaloo.
Just wait for a moment.
Wait a minute, John.
Tommy asked his personal trainer to teach him how to do the splits. The trainer asked, "How flexible are you?" Tommy replied, "I can't do Tuesdays."
Good Lord.
Oh, I think he's trying to copy Max Miller.
Don't, madam. I'll tell you why, and you should know this anyway. There'll never be another, lady. There'll never be another. That's it. I'm off. Hey, John. Hey, John. Tommy Cooper.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
The 11th is absolutely
August the 11th.
yeah.
May the 23rd, piano playtime. It's my playtime now. Take care, Keith. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, John.
Goodbye.
There we are.
Oh, little lamb, hello, away. Ba, ba, ba.
Right. Now, it looks as if the so I'm told that the extra camera was unplugged not very long ago. There it is. These things tend to come out of it, and we have to. There we go. Yeah, there is the extra camera. I think that was Phil Meredith coming on. Is a firm favourite on Mirador, and a very. He started his broadcasting a little late in life, but by golly, he's taken to it like a duck to water, and it keeps us all informed, amused, and a great addition to Mirador. As indeed, we do have a lovely team now. Oh, there we are. He's here. Let's pull him on.
Hello, Keith.
You're on, Philip. Good morning.
Yes, I've entered the studio having listened to John Henty, who's a bit of a live wire, isn't he?
Oh, he is indeed. Yes.
But this is a sort of experiment because this is what I think we can do on a Wednesday with you kicking off, and then I come in, then I can invite a guest. So I'm just going to, if you'll just bear with me, I'm going to invite myself.
All right. What a good idea.
Yeah, hang on. Right, now I'll see.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
You're living
hang on,
colour.
no, it's weather, right. Okay. I click on the link.
You're in full mode there.
Yes, and it's working at this end. So, like I say, this was an experiment.
Yes.
Because if you wish, I can anchor Mondays and Fridays from the start. But on a Wednesday, when I'm taking Jackie to work, I can't. What this means is that to keep continuity, you start on a Wednesday and I just join you. And then
absolutely, that's the way to do it.
And then I invite on whoever you wish me to.
Right.
Susie, for example. So that keeps the continuity going, but it takes the takes the pain of you having to send links off you. I can do that.
Right. Good.
So that's what I suggest we do for. Now, what would you like me to do tomorrow?
Where are we? It's Thursday. You say that you can start the show tomorrow?
On a Monday and a Friday, if you wish.
Yes. Well, I need to see what Rosie Hayes is going to do, but she's not on tomorrow because she's preparing her computer for things. So will you start tomorrow?
Yes.
People see your gorgeous beaming face.
But as per my email of this morning, you talk about scheduling things.
Right.
Who else is coming on tomorrow? Are you doing a thing with Harry?
I haven't confirmed it yet, but Mark will come on at 10 o'clock, ready to join Melissa at 10:30.
Right. Good. Okay. Right. Well, I'll disappear. I just wanted to confirm with you directly what you wanted me to do. So I will
Yes,
open the bat. I will open the batting at 8 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay, there we go. Now we've promoted you to everybody as starting tomorrow morning. So that's the way that we'll do it.
Yeah, well, I hope you don't mind the intrusion. It was just to make sure the thing worked. That's all.
John was just gone. I'm glad that you find him a live wire. Some of the stuff that he comes out with is stuff from the past that everybody's forgotten, and he's really a master at that.
Yes, I've gathered that. I mean, I did send a comment in about another Tommy Cooper joke that should be on your comments, but maybe you didn't spot it. But Tommy Cooper went to his personal trainer and said, "Can you teach me how to do the splits?"
Yes, hang on. Here we go. Let's. It says show, but it's not showing it.
Tommy asked, it's come up there.
Right, yes. Tommy asked his personal trainer to teach him how to do the splits. The trainer asked how flexible. Oh, yes, I did. I saw that and I read it. Yes, it was very good. Have you got a book of Tommy
Tuesdays?
Have you got a book of Tommy Cooper jokes?
No, I didn't know there was one. I might buy that.
Yes. The one that I always enjoyed was the two Ronnies.
Oh, yes.
I thought their skits were absolutely brilliant.
No, absolutely. The one I've always remembered, probably because of the job I used to do, was police are investigating the theft of a cement mixer by a group of men. They're looking for a group of hardened criminals. I've always liked that one.
Yes. Are you a theatre goer, Philip?
I used to be, not hugely. I mean, we are lucky here because we have the Chichester Festival Theatre, which is absolutely first class. The last time I went there, I went with my daughter Jessica and we saw Macbeth, which is a play that still scares the hell out of me. And it was a wonderful production. It had the chap in it, Patrick Stewart, who used to be in Star Trek and all that.
Yes.
And his female co-star who played Lady Macbeth was absolutely first class. But I haven't been to the theatre much. One of my favourite visits to the theatre was at the Brighton Theatre, not the Dome, the other one, just down New Road there.
Right.
A mate of mine took me to see a play called The New Statesman with Rick Mayall.
Oh, yes. It turned into a television show, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, Rick Mayall, sadly, is no longer with us. But I have never... You were talking the other day about having a good laugh. I have never laughed so much in my life. In fact, at the end of the show, this equally amused woman came up to me and said, "My friend and I thought you were having a heart attack at one point." I can't repeat, even on Mirador, which has an open mind, but I can't repeat some of the stuff they came out with, particularly about Cherry Booth, the wife, Blair's wife. Absolutely hilarious. I did nearly have a seizure. It was so funny. But I used to love going into the bar there. What do they call it? The something bar in the theatre there. Really old-fashioned, beautiful, almost like a menagerie type bar, old-fashioned theatre bar. and even if you weren't going to the theatre itself, the bar was a brilliant place. I don't know whether it's still going. I hope it is. But yeah, so one of my closest friends in Arundel is a world-renowned, and this is me dropping a name now, so catch it, a world-renowned theatre set designer called Simon Higlett. And he does an awful lot of work at the CFT, the Festival Theatre, as well as internationally. And he's a very, very clever man. Very unassuming, you wouldn't know it. He doesn't go on about his job, but he does a wonderful, wonderful job. And there we are. Well, what are you doing between now and Declan time?
Declan isn't in today.
Right.
I haven't found out yet, but I've got a photograph which I'm going to show eventually of him winning the Toads World Championship a couple of years ago. And last night was a repeat of the World Championship, and he was playing in it. So I think probably a little fragile this morning. But I don't know whether he won or not, whether it was a repeat victory.
Well, it would be lovely if it were.
Yes, it would.
So, all right. Well, I'll love you and leave you, and I will open the batting at 8 o'clock tomorrow.
All right. And
have you got that written down so you remember?
Yes. Well, anyway, as you pointed out, if you're on, it'll block me from getting on anyway.
That's true.
But also, as I did leave a message for you, that yesterday's introduction did record. So it's a glitch that we're going to have to look at.
No.
You can't see me.
I've no idea why, but when I went back on StreamYard later, your show reappeared.
Ah, right. Okay.
So it did go out, Keith. You're quite right. For some reason, the dashboard at my end didn't show you as being live.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we have to accept the fact that the internet and computers are far from an exact science. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Oh, absolutely. They're very, very temperamental, unusually for a piece of kit. All right, Keith.
Okay.
I'll see you remotely tomorrow.
All right. Look forward to it, Philip. Philip Meredith. And one of the two Bs, the other B being not very well at the moment, unfortunately. But that's what happens when you get a little older. Okie doke. Right. Okay. Well, I think that we can safely say goodbye. We should say goodbye. I think you've had enough of me today, but it's Thursday, and it'll soon be Friday. So TGIF is we now. I'm going to remind you about a couple of things. First of all, the pub quiz at the Black Horse every second Sunday at 8 o'clock. £2 entry and a barrel of laughs and lots of fun. So that's the second Sunday in May, and a nice pint, plenty of food if you want it, but loads of fun with the quiz. And if you're just into the eating mode, then I think that there we go. If I can stop it. There is the pub lunch at the Black Horse It's a wonderful, wonderful lunch, and you'd be foolish to miss it. At least once a month, possibly twice a month. I actually go between 3 and 4, so I am aware of just how good it is. There we go. We've got a different background now. That's what happens from time to time, but we won't bother to change it. We'll just say goodbye and toodle pip, and I hope you enjoyed the morning, particularly with John Henty. And where do we come from this morning? Well, it's Mirador Television, and this is where we're based. From Lewis in the Black Horse Pub.